Hello and welcome back to High Velocity Copywriting, your BTMS Insiders training. This is Roy Furr, and we are to the point in our persuasive message where we are building interest and desire. So we've gotten their attention. We've really hooked them into the beginning of our persuasive message to hear us out regarding the urgent problem that we're going to solve, the new opportunity that we're presenting, or the prediction that we're making. And now we're going to translate that into interest in our message and then desire for the product, the service, the solution, the offer that we are going to put there in front of them and ask them to take action on. So again, in terms of building interest and desire, what we need to do at this step is to make the promise, to prove it, and to overcome any objections that they have to moving forward with the product or service or offer that we are going to put in front of them. And a quick reminder, there are 3 sales that we need to make at every step, including this one. And the 3 sales that we need to make at the step of building interest and desire are: number 1, my core promise is proven and believable. So I have the proof, I have the credibility to back up the core promise that I'm going to make. So if I'm offering to solve a problem for them, I have proof that I can provide that solution and it will work for them. It's believable. If I'm presenting a new opportunity, I'm able to prove that this opportunity does indeed exist, that it's real, and that it will get them the outcome I'm promising. And if I'm making a prediction, I'm able to prove why this prediction is going to come true. And that is a believable connection of the facts leading to the inevitable outcome of the prediction coming true. Next, number two sale that we need to make is that your objections about the general proposition are addressed. So again, general versus personal objections. When we're talking about the general proposition, there are going to be objections. Okay, I don't believe that this is a solution to the problem. I don't believe this is going to solve the problem. Here's why. It actually will. I don't believe this opportunity. There's objections around that. And I'm able to address those as the salesperson. I don't believe the prediction. Okay, there are certain objections that come up in the context of making a prediction. Why am I accurate in this prediction? The objections about the general proposition are addressed. And then you can let go of your limiting beliefs about this. So not only are there the general objections, there are the personal limiting beliefs as to whether or not the person would truly be able to avail themselves of the product, the service, the offer, be able to get the desired result. And again, this goes back to the beliefs that we addressed when we were talking about really finding our message in the first place. There are certain limiting beliefs, especially when it comes to, say, for example, taking advantage of a new opportunity. And so we need to break those down and build up new beliefs in our favor such that the prospect is predisposed to respond when we put an offer in front of them. So how do we do it? How do we make those 3 sales? Number 1, we need to make our promise and prove it. So we've largely laid that out or established what the promise is, starting with our big idea, but we need to be clear about that, and I'll show you how. So we're going to make our promise, and then we're going to prove it. We're going to prove that we can fulfill the promise, that we can get them the desired result, the desired outcome, in such a way that it is emotionally and practically compelling. Keep it personally, emotionally relevant. An easy thing to do if you are writing copy is to speak in general terms, to express things in ways where it doesn't feel personal to the prospect. The more that you can put the prospect into your message, and think 5 senses with this, think, that the actual experience of being in the moment, the better you are going to be in terms of keeping it personally and emotionally relevant to them so they will want to respond. When I've talked before about really agitating the experience of a problem in your prospect's life as you're presenting a problem, that's really what we're doing there, is we are keeping the experience of the problem personally and emotionally relevant. And then you also want to keep the logic chain clear and tight. I've certainly reviewed copy from copywriters before who, they started with a good idea and they, word to word, sentence to sentence, paragraph to paragraph, they actually wrote pretty well. But when you zoomed out, in terms of the general structure, narrative arc of their entire presentation, you could ask them to outline what they were saying in a series of bullet points, and they weren't able to do it. And any truly great copy is written in such a way that the copywriter behind it, the copywriter who writes it, is fully capable of elucidating, of presenting, of outlining the logic chain behind the copy in a clear and concise and compelling way, such that even if you were to just read their outline, it would feel, pretty compelling and pretty convincing. So when they actually go and write that out, flesh it out, it becomes all the more compelling and convincing. So keep your logic chain clear and tight. And then use the rule of 3. And that is that we tend to here's a great example. When you tell a children's story, most often what happens is there is the hero that is going through everyday life, and then there is a problem or a challenge presented, and then there are 3 things that are tried or presented, or 3 trials, tasks, whatever, that the hero has to go through before they reach the resolution. And what you'll find is that pattern doesn't just apply to children's stories. That pattern applies all over the place, that we have this natural interest in and inclination towards groups of 3, especially in the context of storytelling and narrative. So when you think about presenting examples, think about what are the 3 big examples that I can present here. When you think about overcoming objections, think about what are the 3 big objections that I can address here. When you think about limiting beliefs, think about what are the 3 limiting beliefs that I can really tackle here in my persuasive message. Because there's something about that group of 3 that once you cross that threshold of really being able to address 3, the natural assumption then becomes that you would be able to address any number of beliefs beyond that, any number of objections beyond that, any number of challenges beyond that. And this doesn't mean you should never go beyond 3, but really you should try to have a minimum of 3. And so what you'll see in my outline here and in my elements that I'm going to share with you is that in the context of the different approaches that you can take through this process of building interest and desire, I'm going to use the number 3 quite a bit for how many times you're supposed to go through a specific process. And that's what the rule of 3 is all about. 3 examples, 3 objections, 3 whatever. All right, so let's dive into the elements. These are the copy elements that go into your outline as you are thinking about this part of the selling message where you are building interest and desire in your message, in your product, in your service, and what it is that you have to offer. First off, here is the general logical structure that we're working under. First, you want to tie your big idea to the promise that you have made. You you presented the big idea in the introduction as you were laying out why they should pay attention to you and getting them hooked into your message. And that needs to be tied to the fundamental promise that you are able to fulfill through your product or service. So, for example, when I wrote about the Titans of direct response, the fundamental promise was that by spending time in the room with the Titans, you were going to transform your ability to generate business results. When I presented the problem that America was subject to an EMP attack from outside forces, the promise was that you would be able to protect yourself and your family from an EMP attack and from the repercussions. Whatever you are doing in terms of presenting a big idea and leading people towards a solution, a product, a service, an offer, you need to be able to tie the big idea to the promise as the way to lay the groundwork, to frame the message that is to come throughout this step of building interest and desire. Second, you need to reinforce the practical and emotional benefit, that main big benefit that you laid out in the introduction, that you developed alongside your big idea. Next, it helps if you can establish the burden of proof. And this is really common in selling situations, that a good salesperson will sit down with the prospect and they'll say, if I can show you how to insert promise here, then will you move forward with me today? So if I can show you that this, and this are true, then you know that my bigger point is true. And so establish up front that, listen, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to show you how I can solve this problem. And I am able to solve this problem with this simple 3-step process. Let me show you how that works. And then you can be confident moving forward. You do the same thing with opportunities. Do the same thing with predictions. And then you state your substantive evidence. And this is following the general process of creating a logical argument. Some of this language sounds very, academic or whatever, because the field of logic and generating arguments has been studied by academics for a very long time. But basically what you want to do is you want to prove what you have said to be true. So different types of evidence that you can provide are third-party support, expert endorsement for whatever statements that you're making, media endorsements. So, if a doctor makes a health claim, it's obviously different than just a layperson. If a health claim is established by a prominent medical journal, obviously that is very different than if a health claim is made in USA Today. So what's the media evidence in support of your claims, your promises, your big idea? What kind of demonstration do you have that establishes your promises and your statements as true? How can you demonstrate what you're saying to be true? This is very common inside of infomercial presentations. You'll see, the knives that can cut through anything. Well, they started out the infomercial by presenting an urgent problem. Your knife that couldn't cut through anything. Your knife that couldn't even cut a tomato without smashing it all over the cutting board. Your knife that couldn't whatever. And then they present demonstrations. The knife cuts this, the knife cuts that, the knife cuts this, and look, it's still sharp. So what kind of demonstrations can you provide to show that what you're saying is true? What kind of examples can you provide? Or, if you're making a stock pitch, what kind of previous examples can you offer of a of the stock gurus, investment gurus, previous predictions coming true? What kind of stats can you provide in support of your argument? You know, people love to see the emotional, compelling presentations of things, but also statistics help make your logical case, help ground everything that you're saying in real solid reason for what you're saying, what you're claiming. Stories are evidence in an emotional sense that we like to believe that if something happens in a story, that it is true. And so we will look to stories to help us understand whether or not something is true. So any kind of stories that provide evidence that what you're saying is true and factual and supported helps at this point. And then I want to introduce a concept called proof stacking. And this is where you take a series of small claims and build it out into something bigger. And this is kind of an advanced technique when you're thinking about how to present your selling arguments. Proof stacking is a way to make something feel like part of a bigger trend. So with proof stacking, number one, you want to present an example of something being true. This can be, for example, a tiny trend inside a tiny industry that represents a big breakthrough technology. And then a quote. A quote can come from an expert. It can come from a particular media source. It can come from wherever, but that quote is meant to reflect on the impact of the example and make it bigger than just that one small example. So you may show a tiny medical device that represents a new breakthrough technology, and then you may find an article from a technology magazine talking about the importance of this new technology and what it represents. And then a statistic. So after the quote is a statistic that makes it feel even bigger. And so the statistic might be that a particular aspect of that one technology that appeared in that medical device actually is part of a much bigger trend of rolling out the same underlying technology across multiple applications, across multiple industries. And then you follow that with an implication, which is your statement of why that represents a bigger trend, or in this case, a bigger investment opportunity. So that's a great way to really stack proof and make it ultra believable. Okay, so once you've stated your substantive evidence, and we're actually going to come back to that just a little bit in terms of how you structure your evidence, how you present your evidence for the different kinds of big ideas. But once you state your substantive evidence, you want to make sure that you anticipate disagreements, that is, handle objections before they come up, and then summarize your position such that you have proved what you're saying, you have countered objections, and you make your final statement as to, this is why I believe that this prediction will come true. This is why you should believe that this is the opportunity of a lifetime. This is why my solution to your problem works. So specifically applying this to the different types of big ideas, we're going to talk about how you build interest and desire around a solution to a problem. So if you're presenting your problem-based big idea, first you want to restate what the problem is. So we stated our big idea, we made our promise related to that big idea, and then we again just want to acknowledge, okay, this is the problem that we're solving. Agitate it ×3. Invalidate other solutions that are out there in the marketplace ×3. And then summarize. So basically, we want to put the person into the experience of the problem as to why it needs to be solved 3 times over. And in those 3 times over, what we are doing is we are creating, we are setting up our invalidation to alternative solutions in the marketplace. And so, let's go to a diet product, for example. You could be talking about all the different diets that you've tried in order to lose weight. And, 3 examples might be a low carb diet, a low fat diet, and then a low everything diet. And the experience that you walk them through there is how all of those different diets didn't work. And maybe your solution is the anti-diet diet or something like that. Or I tried different diets. I tried different exercise programs, and I even tried pills that practically made me sick. And here's why my approach is different. So again, we're walking through, and sometimes this can be very short. My presentation there, of course, was very short. It can also be very extended in terms of really taking people into the experience, the agitation of those of the problem being unsolved and not being able to solve it through the various solutions that you've tried up until that point. And then you get to that point where you need to summarize it, and you say, just when I thought that this was the end, that I wasn't going to be able to figure this out, then I found my solution. Now we're moving on to the opportunity. If you're presenting an opportunity, obviously it's a little bit different than presenting a problem or presenting a prediction. And so the process that you're going to walk them through as you are building interest and desire is you are going to be addressing their limiting beliefs. Much about an opportunity is the belief that either the opportunity is not real or that they're not going to be able to take advantage of it. And so you're going to have to address those limiting beliefs and counter them. So the first thing you have to do is you have to break that belief pattern. Even if you think that you're not a writer, you may be surprised to figure out that other people from all professions, not writers, are making a fortune as a copywriter. So bad example, perhaps in execution, but it's a great example of how to address a limiting belief and break that belief. Then you need to rebuild the belief around whatever supports the sale that you're going to make. And then again, we repeat it. So we back to the top here. There's a limiting belief. We're going to have 3 of those. There's a limiting belief. You're going to break the limiting belief. You're going to rebuild it around something that supports them moving forward today. You're going to repeat that 3 times over with the 3 limiting beliefs, and then you're going to summarize and set yourself up for presenting your product or service, your offer. Now, if you are making a prediction, again, it's largely the same process. You are building the logical chain towards your prediction being true. And so this is supported with a reason why, a proof of the reason why, connecting the dots as to why that makes your prediction all the more likely to come true. You're going to repeat, and then you are going to summarize. So you gave your reason why, you gave proof as to why your reason why was accurate. You connected the dots as to how that's leading towards your prediction coming true. You repeated 3 times, and you summarized in the end why all of these things makes your prediction all the more likely. And then once you have laid out these rule of three, power of three patterns of proof, of supporting evidence, of breaking down objections and limiting beliefs, then you need to dimensionalize. You need to dimensionalize the emotional implications of moving forward, of you solving the problem that you've presented, of them taking advantage of the opportunity that you're introducing, of being able to respond in advance to the prediction that you're making. So you dimensionalize and address the emotional implications, you dimensionalize and address the practical implementations, and then you get to the point where you present the solution. And so in presenting your solution, you're going to reinforce the big idea, the promise, and the proof that you've just laid out. You're going to offer the solution that you have. You're going to make a statement about the solution that you are going to make available to them. Here you don't necessarily introduce the product. That's, you know, a couple sentences or a couple paragraphs down the line, but you are saying, listen, I can help you solve this problem. I can help you take advantage of this opportunity that I've just laid out. You see how I understand it. You see that I understand the problem, the opportunity, the prediction that I'm making. Now let me help you solve it. And then you future pace the attainment of the ideal result. That is, the ideal situation is that they get the perfect solution to the problem, they take full advantage of the opportunity, or they're fully ready for the prediction, whether that means taking advantage of a good opportunity that is to come or protecting themselves against something bad coming down the line. And that will take us through to the point where we start to present our offer, where we ask them to take action. And that will be in your next training. For now, if you have any questions, be sure to use the questions in the player menu. If you'd like to leave a review, rate this course, tell other people what they can get out of it, please do that with the review and rate this course. This has been Building Interest and Desire as part of High Velocity Copywriting, and I look forward to diving into the next training with you here soon. Thank you.